Normally, my model train videos are entertaining, not informative, but this one's going to be a little bit different. I want to talk about an interesting concept in the world of model railroading, something called a reversing loop. I think the easiest way for me to illustrate the concept is to just make a little drawing of a simple model train layout. Imagine you have a train layout in the shape of a basic oval. The train goes round and round, and because it's basically a big circle, the train is always traveling in the same direction. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if there was an easy way to get the train to turn itself around so that it could travel in the opposite direction? One way to do that is to add a reversing loop. Now, let's say we add a little switch that branches off to the right. Then we'll run some track up in this direction and add a big curve to turn the train around. And finally, we'll connect that big curve back to the main line by adding a switch right here. Now, that sounds great in theory. But in reality, there's a big problem. Most model railroads run on a two-track system. If we take a close look at it, you can see there's a left rail, a right rail, and then these railroad ties that hold them all together. Now, the trains are powered by electricity flowing through these two metal rails, and the railroad ties are made of plastic so that the two rails are isolated from each other electrically. But if we took a piece of metal and placed it across those two rails, that would create a short circuit between the two rails, and that's bad. Basically for most of the same reasons that you wouldn't want to create a short circuit across the two connectors of an electrical outlet in your home. Ow! So, short circuits across the two rails are bad. And when you make a reversing loop, you do create a short circuit across the rails. Let me show you why. I'm going to draw a reversing loop using two different colored Sharpies to make it easy for you to see the electrical problem that a reversing loop creates. See, when we make that loop, the red rail that started on the right side at the beginning has now ended up on the left side by the end of the loop. So where it connects back to the main line, it would end up shorting out the two rails, just like if I stuck the paperclip in the electrical outlet again. That's bad. So to avoid that, we have to electrically isolate the reversing loop from the main line. Basically, we block the electrical connection here and here to isolate the loop electrically from the main line. But when we do that, there's no electrical power within the loop. So we need to add a special little gizmo, something called a digital reversing loop module. That's the little thing off to the side of the track with the red and yellow wires. The red wires take the electrical power from the main line and feed it into the module. The module itself does some kind of magic to the electrical signal, I really don't know what. And then the yellow wires take that modified electrical signal and feed it into the isolated section of track that forms the reversing loop. Let me show you how it works in action. I've got an oval layout set up in the living room and dining room. Basically, I could run the train all day in one direction around that oval. But that's only fun for about 15 minutes, and then we need to mix it up a bit by reversing the direction that the locomotive travels. To do that, we throw this switch, which sends the train down this section of track in the hallway. Then it enters this room with a reversing loop in it. As the train goes around the loop, it basically turns itself around and now faces the opposite direction as it exits the loop and goes back down the main line in the reverse direction that it entered it. And once it works its way down the hallway and connects back to the big oval in my dining room and living room, it's now traveling that oval in the reverse direction that it was before. And that's how a reversing loop works on a model railroad. The key to making it work, if you're running your trains with a digital control system, DCC, is to get one of these reversing loop modules from MRC, the Model Rectifier Corporation. The MRC part number is AD520, and they sell for roughly $30. Ideally, you really want to get two of them and build two reversing loops into your system, so that once you've reversed the direction of travel of your train using reversing loop number 1, you can reverse it again later in the opposite direction using a second reversing loop. I predict that if you keep an eye on my YouTube channel in the weeks and months ahead, you'll see some interesting new layouts involving reversing loops, and not just one like today, but probably two or maybe even more. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the interesting new videos that I'll be posting.